Going on, y'all? So I'm jumping on right now. I just want to talk to y'all and about this 1.7 billion dollar bond that was passed uh, through the local elections in Greensboro. Well, I should say Guilford County, North Carolina, on May 17th. Now, what's crazy about it to me is that I see now that a lot of people really did not pay attention and have not been paying attention. And I understand that many people, when you see something with the education system, you feel to go ahead and push the button and vote on it. If it's something concerning helping the education system, and that's all fine. But when you do your due diligence, that should change the whole game. So Guilford County Schools, the commissioners, everybody is happy about this $1.7 billion school bond that was passed, thanks to the voters. Now, in 2008, well, let me start there. In 2008, Guilford County Schools needed money to fix the schools. They got over $400 million. I think it was 457 million if I'm correct. Maybe off a couple of numbers, but it was still over $400 million. That was in 2008. They didn't use the funds, okay? They ran out of the time allotted to use those funds, and they didn't use it, okay, at all. They claimed to use a couple of million of it, right? And we're trying to find out why, because all of these issues that needed to be handled with the schools as far as concerning maintenance, from everything you can name it, roof, HVAC, windows, mold, everything. Mind you, these schools are 50 plus years old in Guilford County. So we're wondering now why wasn't that money used, okay? So let's move forward 10 years after that. 11 years after, let's say, um, 12 years. Let's say that 12 years, because 2020, Guilford County residents again approved, you know, for the schools to get $300 million. That money wasn't used either. So if you take it from those two times, that's over $700 million. Why wasn't it used? And all of a sudden now they're so excited about 1.7 billion. And mind you, they claimed that the 1.7 billion wasn't even going to really be enough, but they're so excited about it. So I'm confused. And if everyone would have been paying attention, you voted for this thing. People agreed upon this. The citizens agreed upon this thing two times prior, and nothing was done. So now 1.7 billion, the schools are happy about that. But you had over 700 million, and you didn't use that. So I'm trying to understand, how are we just going to dismiss that, and people not paying attention to, like, you need receipts. Someone needs to show receipts. You shouldn't vote for something, that you're not seeing any results. So we had kids, you thinking about, for 12 years, those kids in the past was neglected in the school system, never got to see none of those results. And I'm trying to figure out how many schools are going to get uh, renovated. How many of them are we going to see work done? Okay, because they hadn't even chipped away at none of the schools. So that's my concern right now, and that's what you know, I've been talking for months, a few years now, and I've been trying to school everybody on this whole thing. But it's obvious People don't pay attention. You know, it's obvious that people are not doing their due diligence. And it's like, have you been hearing the issues with the schools? Have you not remembered that you voted on these things already before for a bond, for funding, and it wasn't used? And they never talked about it. And all of a sudden, it's all about the community now when they were locking parents and students out of school board meetings. But now all of a sudden, it's all about the the community when they weren't doing anything for these students. And now everybody is so excited. Well, my thing is, let's see now what you're going to do with 1.7 billion. Let's see how fast you're going to spend this. Because if you couldn't spend 457 million or 300 million, and now let's talk about it was actually like 229 million they also received too. I believe that it was in late 2021. So you add that to the mix. They had this money before, okay, and they didn't do anything with it. All right, and let's not forget and talk about these restart schools. Let's talk about the funding that they get for each of those schools. Okay, uh, and the funding may vary uh, for various reasons. You know, what I mean, the demographic of the school. Where is it? If it's low income, uh, I guess the school size. So let's put that in perspective too. See, when people have to do their due diligence, right? And then now when we think about the now let's go in and we think about the mayor. So you got Justin Outland and Nancy Vaughn going up. They're going to be going up against each other. So it's almost like the presidential race. Nobody wanted Trump in there really. Nobody wanted either of these guys, in there, but you had to choose. So it was like, okay, many people just didn't want to choose Biden, but it was like, okay, we better to go with Biden than this guy because he's just causing so much, confusion and adding more stress on a stressful situation at a time. When you're going through the COVID situation and nobody needed that extra added drama on top of what they're dealing with inside of their own homes. So it's amazing to me, and it's interesting to me, and it goes to show that a lot of people don't do their due diligence. Like once again, I understand many people probably you see something, uh, a bond for the schools, and you thinking funding for the schools, so you want to do what's right. I get that, but do your due diligence because they already had about this amount before. They were shy a few millions, you know, before. They had this money and they didn't do anything. So now it's this big party and parade now about 1.7 billion. Meanwhile, once again, we had 3 schools impacted by a tornado that came through Guilford County, okay, in 2018. Once again, Peeler, Hampton, and Irwin Montessori. Now, you got those students are still displaced at other schools. One school just mysteriously gets burnt down, I wouldn't say burnt down, but arson was committed. We still haven't heard anything of who done it, anything. You still haven't heard of what they're going to do with those 3 schools. And mind you, they had received $10 million for those 3 schools from insurance. And at the time, once again, as I explained this many of times, they received that 10.1 million to be exact. Once again, the public wasn't informed of what was done with that money when they received it. They kind of skimmed through. They kind of like brushed over it like everything else too. They received the money and then they never said anything what they're gonna do with those schools. Okay, and Peeler sat there dormant, and all of a sudden it caught fire. You know, now and immediately they had a plan to put a new school there. But the whole time the school was sitting there, and they said anything, nothing about it. So that makes me believe that was the plan all along. So then Irwin Montessori still sits dormant, okay, in East Greensboro, okay, on Bessemer Avenue in East Greensboro, okay, in Huffine Mill, close to Huffine Mill Road, all right. You can ride by there if you're in Guilford County. You can ride by there, Greensboro, I should say, and you'll see that school still sitting there right now, dormant. Mind you, residents around that school and even the church next door to that school was impacted, and they've been since renovated, and they're back up, and they're looking fine and looking better than before the tornado. But Irvin Montessori still sits there. Hampton, it still sits dormant. So it's just amazing. It's just amazing to me if people do their due diligence. And then some, maybe thought they were doing the right thing, and then others just didn't care anyway. Just say, hey, knew what was going on and know what's going on and don't even say anything. So it just amazes me, you know. Um, so 1.7 billion bond has been passed, and I know I definitely didn't vote for it, of course, and because I knew, what was going on, and I was schooling the public all along. I've been schooling the public and dropping it on you guys for 2.5 years, you know, and sharing it around and trying to get the word out to, like, hey, listen, pay attention to that, because there are questions that they're never answering, but all of a sudden they're happy about this 1.7 billion. But you couldn't get any answers from it. Every time they receive funds, they move on to the next and they're asking for more money. So now let's think here. Okay. Just in the past 2 years, they had $529 million. Where's that money at? I've been asking that same question since. Where's that money at? Because you have that on top of the 1.7 billion. Where's that at? See, we need receipts. See, people go around, everybody say, oh, receipts, receipts. We need receipts. Where are they? You'll never hear about that. But I just wanted to chime in and speak on that, because it's a bunch of hogwash, and I want to see how fast, they remodel these schools. I want to see how fast that's going to be done, since just last year they talked about how, oh, when you had Smith, their HVAC system failed, and on them, you know, they were like, oh, it's hard to get parts right now. It's a lot of parts that are on back order and this and that. So okay, so now you got 1.7 billion. If the parts are on back order, they're on back order, right? What difference is this gonna make, right? That's what you said. So it's all about just common sense, and let's use it in our heads, folks. But congratulations, y'all passed the bond for some money that they had already pretty much had in the past, like 12, 13 years. They already had that money before and didn't do anything with it. All right? That's my time, folks.